Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Today we spotlight individuals and programs creating opportunities for others. In Texas, we go inside a courtroom where one judge is on a mission to help veterans who face the criminal justice system. And in Florida, we take you out on the water, where a fishing education and recreation program is introducing kids to valuable life lessons. But we begin with the growing shift toward green energy. Offshore wind farms are being built along the East Coast, generating work for employees formerly dependent on the oil and gas industries. Ben Tracy heads to Louisiana to see how the expansion could create thousands of new jobs.
At this shipyard in Houma, Louisiana, you can see and hear the future being built.
Well, that noise we're hearing, that's what's called Made in America.
That's made in America, no doubt.
Wally Naquin is the general manager of La Ship.
This thing is so huge.
Yes, she's huge.
The company is constructing the first vessel in the nation to service offshore wind turbines now being installed along the East Coast. The ship is essentially a floating hotel for 60 technicians who will spend months at sea. They use an innovative bridge system to walk directly from the boat to the wind turbines.
How unique is this compared to other stuff you've built?
It's completely unique. We're stepping away from oil and gas and going into the wind industry.
For generations, Gulf Coast shipyards have serviced the oil and gas industry. Those jobs have been declining for years.
This is very cool.
Now with wind industry business blowing his way, Naquin Shipyard has gone from less than 100 workers to more than 600.
We don't have to do any layoffs because of the wind industry. It's renewed our, not just our shipyard, it's renewed Southeast Louisiana that we're keeping people working.
Right now, the U.S. produces only enough offshore wind energy to power about 32,000 homes. The White House wants to hit 10 million homes by 2030 and claims offshore wind will eventually create 77,000 jobs, many of them in shipbuilding.
Right now, we have 33 vessels under construction in the U.S. to support the offshore wind sector. We need 50 to 60 more just for the 17 projects that we're talking about that are on the East Coast right now under development.
This shipyard is already building its second vessel and expects offshore wind to power a decade of steady work.
We were built on the oil and gas industry, so now the wind industry is bringing us back to life.
Turning now from the high seas to open roads, millions of Americans traveled the legendary Route 66 in the mid-20th century. But in the era of Jim Crow, people of color had very few places to safely take a break and refuel. Janet Shamlian passes through some of the spots that provided refuge, now being remembered and restored.
Along the once celebrated Highway 66, now almost indistinguishable from many other country roads, there's a rescue in progress. This is the sound of saving history.
What do you think about what you're seeing here?
What they've accomplished in 1 week is just amazing. It's just amazing. Look how dark it is and how distinct it is.
Where would we be without them?
And Edward Treat would know.
It's not ugly anymore.
It was his grandfather's place. The Threet filling station was once among just a few African-American-owned gas stops along Route 66, a major U.S. thoroughfare for almost half a century.
It was one of the few places people of color could feel safe to stop and rest.
My grandpa was, he was a smart man. To be able to acquire 160 acres of land, because we had so much property, they could stay out back. And this was literally a safe haven for people of color during that Jim Crow era.
But the building hasn't been safe from the ravages of time. It looked like this until recently, named one of America's most endangered historic places.
This is well over 50 years old.
That's where preservationist Molly Baker comes in, delivering hope. The acronym for hands-on preservation experience.
I'm going to have you work this stone.
Bringing in restoration experts like David Gibney to teach Job Corps workers how to bring a building back to life.
We want everything to look like it was originally there, and that's the real task here.
In the process, teaching stone cutting and painting to trainees like Jeremiah Booker.
I feel like I'm like contributing and like helping, you know, like by playing a part in doing this work.
The effort made possible by grants, donations, and fierce devotion to protecting the past.
We've already lost so many important structures, especially in the African American and underserved communities. They've just been torn down as eyesores.
Yeah, it's horrific. Part of telling the full American story is making sure that everyone has their story told and that there's representation for everybody.
From restoring a St. Croix plantation hospital for enslaved people to repairing gravestones at Houston's first African American cemetery, it's as much about sharing knowledge of what some consider a lost art.
If you do traditional trades, you're guaranteed of an income for the next 50 years. AI can never replace it. Robots can never replace it. It all has to be hand done.
And in triple-digit Oklahoma heat,
You need any water?
that's a job.
Without the Hope Crew, where would you be?
Up that creek.
It won't be a filling station, but Threet and his family want to again make it a respite from the road, a place of history and learning for all.
What do you think your grandfather would think?
He's proud of us. I mean, I know he is. And he expects us, me, my cousins, who are now the elders of the family, to preserve this and pass it on and to make sure it never, ever is outside this family.
You got a lot to live up to.
Oh, yes. But we're doing that. We're doing that.
Saving invaluable history to enrich our future.
Coming up, why a program holding court for military veterans is being called a different kind of justice. This is Eye on America. A unique criminal justice program is assisting with a lesser-known military crisis, veterans landing on the wrong side of the law. Omar Villafranca takes us inside a Texas courthouse where one judge is dedicated to giving vets a second chance.
All rise. Every third Thursday of the month at the Tarrant County Courthouse, Judge Chuck Vanover dedicates his courtroom to a criminal docket of a special class of defendants. Military veterans.
I pledge allegiance to the flag. Our military does a great job at warfighting, but sometimes people have a little bit tougher time coming back and adjusting into the civilian world where they don't have the camaraderie, the team, the structure, the discipline. The offensive burglary of a habitation, that is a felony of the second degree.
After they're arrested, most for assaults or DWIs, the veterans are offered a bargain. Plead guilty, and if you sign up with a mentor, stay out of trouble and show up every month.
Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty. Judge Vanover puts that guilty plea on hold.
I don't think that anybody who knows me would ever accuse me of being a bleeding heart, but I just have been so impressed with the changes that I've seen people make through this program.
Prosecutor Deanna Franzen served in the Air Force.
There's a lot of alcohol-based offenses, a lot of drug-based offenses, and that has a lot to do with them sometimes acting out on demons that they earned during their time in the military.
You said demons they earned.
The struggles that they have were because they did things for our country that we needed them to do at that time, and that can't be discounted.
A new national commission, chaired by former Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel, reports that 1 in 3 veterans say they've been arrested at least once. And veterans now make up 8% of those in state prisons.
This is the cross rifles. It's the symbol of the infantry.
Infantryman William Meek served as a vehicle commander in Iraq, where roadside bombs were a daily occurrence. Meek survived multiple head injuries.
I remember my head got knocked around, but I was wearing the helmet. And at first I was like, was that an IED?
Adjusting back to civilian life was challenging.
After the war, I was just angry all the time. I was angry about stuff that I had done, that I wasn't in the Army. I was angry that I didn't know what to do.
Meek was arrested for unlawful carry of a weapon and decided to try Judge Vanover's Veterans Court.
Did you look at it as a, hey, this will help me skate through it easier?
Yeah.
And was it easier?
No. Regular probation would have been so much easier.
Will Meek, U.S. Army.
Now, Meek spends once a week working in the court where he's seen firsthand how hard the struggle can be.
The very first veteran who ever came and asked me to be his mentor, he took his life back in May. I always tell people, it's like, we all have demons. Everybody in this room has demons. But I also tell people, no one in this room is alone.
The program had such an impact on Meek that the same judge who oversaw his punishment was there to preside over his marriage.
We've graduated over 600 veterans through this program. For our new veterans, welcome to the program.
Administrator Courtney Young told us about how many participants stay out of trouble after the program.
Our recidivism rate is less than 10% at this time.
Compared to general population?
It could be anywhere up to 30 to 40% in the general population.
So that's significantly better.
Yes, sir.
Judge Vanover, who himself serves in the Texas State Guard, requires that the veteran court take a minimum of 10 months. And for veterans who complete the mission, they can walk away with their criminal charge expunged, any trace of it wiped from their record.
Some people might say it seems like special treatment. Do you think this program is special treatment for veterans?
No, I don't, because they only get one bite at the apple. So, you know, if somebody has gone through the program and they get rearrested for something, they don't get a chance to come back.
This is not just do the crime, do the time, and then you move on. I mean, the carrot would be the expulsion from the record.
Right. When they start off, just see, you know, just the kind of the blank stare, but as they go through the program, you start to see that little flicker of light come on in their eyes, the showing of emotion and being happy and looking forward to going on with life.
Two things we noticed in the courtroom. The veterans were all ages, not just in their 20s or 30s, but ones who retired years ago before the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And when they met in the courtroom, many were looking at their fellow veterans, almost like they were there as part of a platoon to get through the program and hold each other accountable.
From the courthouse to Capitol Hill, a growing fashion trend is taking over as members of Congress are ditching traditional dress shoes and lacing up the sneakers. Scott McFarland finds out how the footwear revolution is helping lawmakers take steps toward bridging the partisan divide.
It's easy to get swept up in the historic grandeur of Congress, but if you look down, you'll see something entirely untraditional. The buttoned-up world of Capitol Hill is turning to laces.
They got a match.
Florida freshman Congressman Jared Moskowitz is trying to get Congress to catch up with the people it represents by changing part of Washington's centuries-old dress code.
As Congress gets younger, which is happening, you're going to see more and more people wearing sneakers.
Moskowitz calls himself a sneakerhead.
You have a few pairs?
Yes.
How many is a few?
Over 100.
100?
Yeah, maybe more.
You still want to get more?
Always.
He thinks Congress is holding on to an outdated tradition of wearing uncomfortable shoes while carrying out the people's business.
This is already happening. If you go to corporate America and you go into office buildings, people have already started to abandon, Oxfords, or they're wearing Cole Haans with a Nike sole.
The floodgates began to break when House leaders wore dress sneakers to a meeting between congressional leaders and President Biden in the Oval Office. A room which for generations has strictly been the land of Oxfords and loafers. An industry trade association reports athletic shoe imports soared 29%, 664 million pairs, nearly 2 pairs for every American.
It's a Nike Dunk.
We visited Berto Fontaine at his sneaker consignment shop in Baltimore.
Now this one is the one that everybody wants.
Where he told us sales come increasingly from business people in suits, men and women.
Women are 100% sneakerheads just like men are. There's women that come into my store that have better collections than men do.
It's a bit of a rebellious statement.
Robin Gavon is a Pulitzer Prize-winning fashion journalist at The Washington Post.
It's their way of sort of saying that they're not going to completely play by the rules, that they're their own person.
She sees it as a perfect storm for sneakers. COVID disruptions and a surge in telework has loosened some office dress codes. At the same time, the style-savvy crowd from Christian Dior to the rarefied air of Paris design have turned sneakers into high fashion. From the cobblestones of Wall Street to the bright lights of television, for some professional men and women, sneakers aren't just fashionable, they're practical.
I think there are some people for whom it is just purely a matter of, hey, these shoes are comfortable and I just want something nice on my feet.
You wear this to work. Somebody from the other party might talk to you about them.
Well, that's the whole idea.
Moskowitz and Oregon Republican Lori Chavez DeReamer have formed a bipartisan congressional sneaker caucus, hoping the sneaker talk serves as an icebreaker for members of a gridlocked, polarized Congress.
Do you find these sneakers start conversations?
They do. And
like real ones.
It starts conversations with staff, it starts conversations with other members, it starts conversations with Capitol Police, it starts conversations with visitors. There's a cultural change happening.
But Gavon says a sneaker's impact may run much deeper, well beyond the nation's capital.
It raises questions about how we look at power, and they don't have to be clomping about marble hallways in uncomfortable shoes if they choose not to. And it doesn't take away from their authority.
Ahead, how fixing cars is fixing lives. That story is next. A Chicago nonprofit is breathing new life into old cars and teaching troubled youth worthwhile skills. Chris Van Cleve introduces us to a mechanic helping youth turn their lives around by learning how to restore classic cars.
Jeff Battles is finding new direction through his love of old cars after the 19-year-old was shot last year.
Wrong place, wrong time, the wrong people. It hit me in my right shoulder and came out my neck right here.
He says that was a wake-up call.
I almost lost my life, man. I gotta change, I gotta do better.
Doing better brought the Chicago teen to the Automotive Mentoring Group and its founder, Alex Levesque.
The only way that you could change the behavior of a person is if you change the way they think.
Fixing up old cars to teach new skills and find good-paying jobs for people many have written off.
You bring in a rough crowd.
That's what I like.
Why?
Because nobody else wants to deal with those guys. So I want to deal with those guys because those are the guys that I see are the real problem.
About 1,500 have passed through here since 2007. Levesque says 85% have turned their lives around.
I don't necessarily think that this is the answer to all of it. I just know it's a damn good answer. And it's what I know how to do.
And a lesson Jeff Battles is learning.
I refuse to be a stereotype. I'm starting from the foundation and I'm gonna work my way up.
Restoring cars and lives by building a future.
We close our show by highlighting another special program changing young lives. Off the coast of Florida, a unique fishing trip is taking kids off city streets and onto the water to introduce them to fishing and the sea. Manuel Bajorquez steps aboard the Florida Fishing Academy.
This isn't your normal field trip. 30 students from Boca Raton, Florida are about to embark on a journey Captain Rich Brochu hopes will change their lives.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. He's the founder of the Florida Fishing Academy, which combines his love of fishing with his mission to teach the next generation how to be good stewards of the sea.
If you give the kids the opportunity at a very young age, then really it's just their open mind and their willingness. So they'll do anything. They're very impressionable. Now remember, I can only bring you to the fish. I can't make them bite your hooks, right?
He started the academy after ending careers in law enforcement and construction, looking for a new way to pass the time.
Also, kingfish have big teeth. So if I can't have anybody near me because they might get bit.
But since 2006, the nonprofit has gone from hosting 40 to 50 children a year to more than 2,500 from nearly 100 schools and community centers.
So that's really our outcome, is to give kids an opportunity to lead, have them work in group sessions, mentor other kids. So when we first started the program to the point now, 90 to 95% of all of our students have never been out in the ocean.
Which explains the excitement. On board, the Academy staff and volunteers teach them how to hook the bait and lower the lines and wait. Wait for something to bite. When something does, they light up, intrigued by what they've caught.
I got a little mermaid fish. Yeah, that's a keeper.
Posing for pictures, even if the fish is a tad small to take home for dinner. Second grader Carmelo found a new sense of pride.
I don't know how to take this off.
So I heard you after you caught that kingfish, you said, I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah, and my daddy and my mommy too gonna be proud of me.
Shannon Lalim is the program director.
We love when they catch a fish because it definitely helps the smiles grow. Fishing's a lot of patience. So even though we're learning different marine science, we're learning about fishing, we're also learning those soft skills. We're learning patience, we're learning leadership, we're learning group mentoring.
The learning doesn't just happen here.
Pull it back, and let go as you release.
The Florida Fishing Academy also takes what it calls its Marine Lab into area elementary schools to teach children about the importance of protecting sea life and the environment. There are also programs that foster careers in the boating and fishing industries. Zachary Crane, an electrician for Viking Yachts, was 13 years old when he started coming on board with the Academy and Captain Brochu.
Changed my life around. I learned a lot. Main thing is that's where I got really involved into fishing and boating. Without working there, I wouldn't be working where I am now. I wouldn't be at Viking. He was the one who pushed me through everything.
And he's still pushing. Though we learned on the boat from Vincent, an 8th grader, that sometimes just letting them be is enough.
For me, it's like a coping mechanism, and I like being out here. It helped me calm my nerves and like deal with stress. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you feel less stressed out here?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the life lessons is just trying to be in that, state of mind that hopefully you can find some place to be relaxed and calm.
That being said, a trip with Captain Brochu wouldn't be complete without one more thing.
My favorite part is going in the water.
Going in the water?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, jump! And in they went, diving into what Captain Brochu hopes is an ocean of possibilities.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.